Good day, students. Welcome to mathgotserved.com. In this clip, we're going to be going over section 5.0 of our series on dividing numbers. We're going to be looking at the divisibility rules from 1 to 5. Okay, so some of the rules that we're going to be using are given here: divisibility by 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Before we get started on some examples, let's go ahead and write down what the divisibility rules are for 1 to 5. Okay, so divisibility rules starting with 1. How do you know that a number is divisible by 1? Well, all numbers are divisible by 1. What does it mean to be divisible by 1? If a number is divisible by 1, that basically means if you divide by 1, you will have no remainder. When you have no remainder, it can also be considered as being a remainder of 0. Okay? Alright, so number 2. How do you know that a number is divisible by 2? Well, all even numbers. Okay, when we're talking about numbers here, we're talking about counting numbers starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so all even numbers are divisible by 2. What does that mean? If you divide any even number by 2, you are going to have no remainder or a remainder of 0. They mean exactly the same thing. Okay, so all even numbers are divisible by 2. What are even numbers again? Let's refresh our memory on that. Recall, even numbers are simply multiples of 2 starting from 2. Okay? Are multiples of 2. So counting by 2 is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So when you're counting by 2, starting from 2, these are your set of even numbers. And they are all divisible by 2. Basically, 2 goes into them evenly. Number 3. How do you know that a number is divisible by 3? Well, all you just have to do is add the digits in that number, okay? So if the sum of digits of a number equals a multiple of 3, then that number is divisible by 3. Okay? Then it's divisible by 3. So let's take a look at an example of this situation. All right, so let's say we have the number 1,710. How do you know? It was a quick way to know if this number is divisible by 3 or not. Well, this number is divisible by 3 because when you add all the digits, all right, 1 plus 7 plus 1 plus 0, you get 9. And what do you know about 9? 9 is a multiple of 3. If you're counting by 3s, 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 6, 3 times 3 is 9. Bam, there you go, okay? And 9 is a multiple of 3. So that's why it's divisible by 3. All right, how about the number 4? For the number 4, and the number is divisible by 4 if the last two digits of that number are both zeros, basically multiples of 100. The last two digits are both zeros, or the number forms, or the last two digits form a multiple of 4, or they form a multiple of 4. Okay, let's take a look at an example. For example, if you have the number 4,935,044. Now, how can you tell if this is divisible by 4 without actually dividing? Well, that's what the rules that we're going over here are for. They help you to determine divisibility in seconds instead of wasting your time dividing the entire number to know if it's divisible. You can know beforehand if it's divisible or not. So it's like a shortcut or a trick, okay? So this number right here is definitely divisible by 4. How do we know that? Well, the last two digits is what you focus on, right? The last two digits are 44. So what do we know about 44? Is 44 a multiple of 4? Absolutely. 44 is 4 times 11, right? So this number is divisible by 4 since the last two digits, 44, is a multiple of 4. You see, we didn't even have to divide to determine divisibility by 4. That's the beauty of these rules. Okay, last one for this presentation is 5. How do you know if a number is divisible by 5? A number is divisible by 5 if the last digit of the number is 5 or 0. This one is very easy to do. For example, consider the number 4,325. Can I know if this number is divisible by 4 or if 5 divides this evenly without dividing it out? Absolutely. Using this rule right here, we know that this number is divisible by 5. Why? It's divisible by 5 because it ends in what? Because it ends in 5. So any number that ends in 5 or 0 is automatically divisible by 5. All right, so here are all the rules. You can also access them at mathgotserved.com under arithmetic. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at some examples. All right, let's take a look at the instructions for the two examples we're going to do. Instructions are as follows. We have to determine if the, scroll up a little bit, determine if the given numbers are divisible by 2, 3, 4, or 5. In the next presentation, we're going to add 6 and 9 onto the list too. Okay. All right. And then you're not just going to determine divisibility. You're also going to explain why or why not. You're going to justify your reasoning. Okay. Then explain why or why not. Why or why not for each case. All right, let's take a look at the first example. What if we have 405? Let's start with, now if you notice in the example, we didn't include 1. Well, why not? Well, because we know that all numbers are divisible by 1. So it's a given fact. We don't have to bother ourselves with that. Okay? But not every number is divisible by 2, 3, 4, or 5. Okay, so it's something to keep in mind. Okay, number 2. Is 405 divisible by 2? If you divide 405 by 2, do you have no remainder? That's the question. The answer is no. Why? Why is it that 405 is not divisible by 2? Well, 405 is not divisible by 2 because 405 is odd. Okay? So all counted numbers or positive integers are odd or even, right? When you count by 2s, those are the odd ones. Then if you skip if you count over the numbers, if you don't count by twos, basically starting by 1, if you start from 1 and then you count by 2 starting from 1, they have your odd numbers. Okay, so if a number is odd, then it is not divisible by 2. So let's take a look at that real quick. So our even numbers, we covered this earlier, counting by 2s, 2, 4, 6, 8, right? So counting by 2s from 2 gives you even numbers, right? But when you count by 2s starting from 1, then you have odd numbers: 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. All odd numbers are not divisible by 2. All even numbers are divisible by 2. Since 405 is odd, then it is not divisible by 2. In order to determine if a multi-digit number is odd or even, just look at the last digit. Okay? If the last, so for example 405, the last digit is 5, that will automatically determine if 405 is odd or even. Okay, so you see 1, 3, if any number ends in 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, it's automatically odd. If any number ends in 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, it's even. Okay, so that's supposed to be like a 10. You get the gist. All right, so this is odd, so it's not divisible by 2 because it's odd and not even. How about the number 3? Is 405 divisible by 3? Well, in order to do this, we have to do some arithmetic computations. We have to add the digits. What is 4 plus 0 plus 5? 4 plus 0 plus 5 is 9. Is 9 a multiple of 3? Does 9 show up in your 3 multiplication chart? Yes, it does. So the answer here is yes. 405 is a multiple of 3. Why? 405 is, I said multiple, but that's true too, is divisible by 3. Why? Because the sum of digits, the sum of its digits, 4 plus 0 plus 5 equals 9, is a multiple of 3. Bam. There you go. Okay? Moving along. How about 4? Is 405 divisible by 4? All right, so this one we're gonna just stick with the rules. There are 2 other ways that you can do this, but we're not gonna do that right now. Just for the sake of simplicity, let's stick to the rules for this one. So 405, is it divisible by 4? You look at the last 2 digits and ask yourself, are they both zeros, or do they form a multiple of 4? If you look at your 4 multiplication chart, 5 isn't there. You go from 4 to 8, 4, 8, 12, on and on, right? And they're not both zeros, so the answer here is simply no. It's not divisible by 4. Why? 405 is not divisible by 4 because the last 2 digits, which forms the number 05, does not form a multiple of 4, and are not zeros. Okay, either they both form a multiple of 4 or both zeros, in order for you to know for a certainty that it's divisible by 4. Okay, all right, number 5. Is 405 divisible by 5? If you divide 405 by 5, you end up with no remainders. The answer here, ladies and gentlemen, is yes. How do we know? Well, 405 is divisible by by 5. Why? Because 405 ends in a 5. Ends in 5. So any number that ends in 5 or 0 is divisible by 5 per our rules that we talked about earlier. All right, let's try another example then. We will give you some practice problems to try out to demonstrate mastery of the contents of this tutorial. 1232, divisibility rules coming up. Let's start with 2. Is 1232 divisible by 2? And the answer is yes. Why? We need to explain why. 1232 is divisible by 2 because of its parity. Because 1, 2, 3, 2 is even. How do you know that 1, 2, 3, 2 is even? You just look at the last digit. Okay, is it 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0? Yeah, it's 2, so that automatically means the entire number is even. Bam. How about 3? Is 1232 divisible by 3? Well, we gotta do some arithmetic here. Add up the digits. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 2. What do you get? 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 6, plus 2 is 8. Does this number 8 show up on your multiplication chart for 3? We have 3, 6, 9. Uh-oh, 8 is not there. So, what's our conclusion? 1, 2, 3, 9? The answer is no. 1232 is not divisible by 3 because the sum of its digits, namely 8, is not a multiple of 3. Is not a multiple of 3. Bam. Moving along. How about 4? Is 1232 divisible by 4? Well, we just need to look at the last two numbers, okay? The last two digits. The last two digits is 32. Is 32 in the multiplication chart for 4? Is 32 a multiple of 4? 4 times 8 is 32. So it certainly is. So what's our answer going to be here? The answer is yes, yes, yes. Yes, 1232 is divisible by 4. The reason is because the last two digits, which are 32, form a multiple of 4. Right? Because 8 times 4 is 32. There you have it. Last but not the least, 5. Is 1232 divisible by 5? Absolutely not. No. Why not? 1232 is not divisible by 5 because it does not end in what? It does not end in 0 or 5. That's an automatic no-no. All right, so now it's your turn to do some practice problems. Alrighty, so here are two practice problems that I would like you to try out. Go ahead and pause the video presentation at this time and try out these problems. Once you're done, click on the playback button and we're going to reveal what the correct answers are. Alrighty, welcome back. So here are the answers to problems 1 and 2. How well did you do in these practice problems? If you got them all right, don't forget to hit the like button. If you have any questions about any parts of these problems, specify it in the comment section below and we'll be more than glad to support you. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button and also share with your friends. Tons of support resources can be found on mathgotserved.com. Do check it out. Thanks again for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.